Hey everyone, I just worked a double shift. I'm sitting outside of the house. I just pulled in the drive, but I wanted to make a video because when I go in, Kieran's going to be excited to see me, and all sorts of stuff happens. And Kieran, my puppy dog, and so I won't be able to make a video. I just know it. I know how things are. So I thought I'd make one real quick in the car. I was thinking about how when I was leaving work, one of my coworkers, who I'm pretty sure is Republican, they're really upset. They've really bought the lie that this was some crazy Democrat that did this to who. See, Charlie. I'll just say Charlie. Charlie, who's not a very good person. But like I said, that's, these things should not happen. We should not get so angry. But see, that's the thing. I think it was an inside job. You notice how these things don't happen to like Biden and others, because Democrats aren't doing this. I know they keep trying to paint it on Democrats. They're just trying so desperately. But it's an inside job with them, with Republicans. It's not with us. We're not doing this. We're not violent. But anyway, I've kind of figured out. She said something and it really made me think about what's really going on here. And she said, it just makes you think now that anybody could walk down the street and get their head blown off or something like that. And she's a nice lady, right? I don't know her on a personal level, so I can't judge her or whatever. But she seems like a nice person. But when she said that, and I said, well, I hate to say it, but we need some gun control. And she said, well, it's these crazy people doing it. And I thought, oh, that's what they're painting. So here's what they're painting. So 45, goes on. It keeps trying to paint this image that it's by Democrats and radical liberals, radical left, and all that stuff, and that we're crazy. So, and then what did they say? That Kilpatrick guy said that they should just euthanize homeless and crazy people. So they're saying. So you see where they're going with this. They're trying to paint this as Democrats, which it clearly wasn't, and I knew it wasn't, and that we're crazy. Democrats are the ones doing these horrible, violent things, and that we're crazy, and then we should just be euthanized. It's like, no. First of all, it's never us. I mean, hardly ever, 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 ever. It's almost always like you can guarantee that one of these violent, horrible events happens. It's not Democrats or liberals. It's someone on the far right, because that's what they do. That's how they handle things. They don't use words like we use words. Liberals, Democrats, we use words. We're angry, we use words. Let's change this. Let's talk about it. And they use violence because they don't know how to talk about it. But they want to blame us. They really believe that it's us because they can't fathom, they can't comprehend that they're that violent. And they've also been taught that there's an enemy. There's a silent enemy. And it can't be them. They can't believe it's them. So they got to blame somebody. And of course it must be because they've been told for years now that it's like crazy Democrats. Okay. So I was thinking about it. It's like, I see where they're going with this. And I was thinking, why is it that we can't have gun control? Why is it that they won't just stop? And I figured out that the guns, gun control, all of that, the guns stand for white supremacy. That's what it is. And 45 himself stands for white supremacy and power. They're afraid of losing white supremacy and power. That's what it is. The guns and 45 stand for white supremacy and power. So you try to take that and control it, and they get really upset. And it's like if you had, let's say there was a kid in the neighborhood that kept throwing rocks at other kids, and you said, listen, you better do something about that. He keeps throwing rocks. And like, oh, it's not the kid, it's not the parents, it's the blah, blah, blah. Well, you could just say it's the rocks. Okay, so no, clearly there is an issue with the kid and the parent. You could say, oh, it's the mentally unstable. Well, you got to be a little mentally unstable to be throwing rocks at people. Right? But so in the meantime, do you just leave rocks around the kid? No, you'd get rid of any rocks around that kid, and then you would stabilize the situation. You'd say, here's the rules. But the problem is they won't do the rules. They won't do the gun control because it's white supremacy and power. They're afraid of losing their power. So they got to blame some other thing, and they'll never address the issue on the far right that things are really jacked up on their side. But I always know when these things happen, I always know it wasn't a Democrat, because we don't do that. We talk, we protest, we have signs, we write songs, we do all that stuff. We try to create legislation, but we don't use violence. They use violence, and they're living in this world of fear and reaction against a silent enemy, and they're being taught that the enemy is always somebody else, the boogeyman, and their only way to deal with it is more violence, and then they blame somebody, but it's always their own selves. It's an inside job. And I would say in this case, I feel very strongly that it was a planned inside job from 45. His behavior of I don't care, and not feeling sad, and all it's completely, the whole thing was planned. And inside, they're doing it to each other. And he plays them like puppets. Anyway, that was just my thoughts on the way home from work. Thanks for watching. Bye.